Um, Jim, obviously back to the league this weekend. Is it going to be difficult to keep the players' minds solely on this when they've got the cup semi-final coming up?
Well, we spoke about that this morning. We had a brief meeting, and obviously we're all delighted to be in the semi-final and have another trip back to Hampden to look forward to. But we stressed the importance of the game at the weekend, and we won 7th place in the league. It's as simple as that. Any game against Hamilton is never easy, and particularly this one at the weekend where they're absolutely fighting for their lives. It's it's a cup final for them. It's as simple as that. I don't think they'll come here and sit in, and they'll come out as we would expect them to, and they'll try and get the win. So we have to be ready for that. We have to be prepared for that, and we want to go into that semi-final against St Johnstone off the back of a good performance in the league.
Would it be fair to say that St Johnstone will be seen as favourites after what they did in the previous round?
I think that is fair, yep. I don't think there's a great deal between the two teams on paper. I think we're very evenly matched right throughout every section in the team, pretty much. But, St Johnstone have been there and done it this year. And I think that probably does give them a slight advantage, look, we don't mind the underdog tag. We've enjoyed that plenty of times this season and got a good reaction from the players. So, yeah, I would say St Johnstone would deservedly be slight favourites in a lot of people's eyes going into this one.
With that said, do you sense the confidence in the squad that given who is left in the semi-finals, that there is a chance that it could be your year?
Well, I think every club out there, I think every set of supporters, every manager and every group of players will be thinking the same. If we play well on the day, then we give ourselves a chance of progressing to the final. I think it's probably fair to say that Hibs will be, favourites in the other one, but at the same time, Dundee United are hitting a decent bit of form at the right time. They had a fantastic result against Aberdeen, and we all know the firepower that United possess. But I would imagine Hibs will be slight favourites in that one. St Johnstone slight favourites in our one, but I don't think there's a great deal between the four teams that are left in the competition. And I think if you look back at some of the league fixtures that we've all been involved in against each other, a number of those games have been very tight affairs. So it's all about managing the occasion, and who steps up and performs on the day inevitably will be the team that goes through. But, we don't want to be thinking too far ahead. And I know it's that old cliche where people say, you take one game at a time, but of course it is hard to not think about the semi-final of the cup and not to dream about what could be, but we'll get this league game out of the way first and foremost, and then, like I said, hopefully go into the St Johnstone game off the back of a good result and performance.
Jim, bit of speculation this week about Jamie McGrath's future. That's probably not what you need sort of in the week or so before leading up to a semi-final.
It doesn't bother me, honestly. We want our players to be getting spoke about in a positive manner. If that is the case, then it means we're doing something right on the pitch. And Jamie's been one of our star performers all season. So, I have had a number of conversations with a number of managers out there regarding Jamie, but we're lucky that we've got Jamie tied up again for next season. So I'm planning for next season with McGrath in our team. But if somebody comes in with an outrageous bid in the summer, then who knows what could happen. But Jamie's far too a grounded a person and a player to allow any kind of speculation affect him. That he needs to keep performing on the pitch, and hopefully come the summer there'll be a whole host of clubs that'll be wanting to take some of our best players. But hopefully we'll do enough here behind the scenes to encourage them to stay with us for at least another season.
You say an outrageous bid. Have you got a figure that you can put on that? And also, where our contract talks with Jamie, is there any chance that you can get him to prolong his stay in Paisley?
I think we need to be realistic about it. We've made Jamie a very good offer and a fair offer, and the kind of offer that we're able to get to. But we're not daft enough to think that other clubs out there can pay slightly more salary to our players. But it would need to be, like I say, it would need to be a huge sum of money, really, because 100 grand or that kind of figure just isn't going to cut it, because we wouldn't be able to replace Jamie McGrath with 100,000 or 200,000. So we'll see what happens. I don't think Jamie will be the only player that will be attracting interest at the moment. I know that there is a number of other players within the squad at the moment that are getting some kind of attention from other clubs. So, like I said, we would much rather it that way than that not to be happening. And we've been here before in numerous years gone by where big teams come in and take some of our better players, and if that's the case, then we'll deal with that in the summer. But right now, Jamie's focus and all the other players' focus is on finishing the season strongly, and then we'll deal with whatever comes after that.
Michael O'Halloran, he's also been reported as somebody you're interested in. Is there anything you can tell us on that one?
Michael's a player I've always liked. He's got great attributes, his pace and his power. He's played at a really good level, and he's on the list. But I've got a list with 50 or 60 players on it. So look, Michael is one again that we've spoke about, but there hasn't been anything concrete put to Michael as of yet.
And team news for Saturdays. How's your squad looking? Any injury news?
No, I mean, we're having a look at one or two today in training. Ryan Flynn done a little bit of training. John O'Beacott done a little bit as well. We haven't got any injuries, thankfully, from the other night. 2 hours of football. It was a very grueling affair, as you know, and there's a lot of demands put on the players' bodies. But I'm glad to say there hasn't been any bad reaction or anything. So we're trying to add players to the group before the semi-final on a week on Sunday, and it's amazing how many players all of a sudden become available when you've got a trip to Hampden to look forward to. So I think we'll have a fairly decent squad once that one comes around.
Cheers, Jim.
Going back to Jamie, we just spoke to Richard, and he compared him to the likes of David Turnbull and said that he could easily see him playing for one of the top two clubs in this country or down south. Do you think the same, that he can go that high?
I do, yeah, absolutely. I think he's had a great age. I think he's took his game to a whole new level in the last kind of 10 months. He's got everything, as far as I'm concerned, that you would look for in a player. He's got decent pace. He's not lightning quick. He's so well balanced in terms of on the ball. He's got that little drop of the shoulder to get away from people. He's obviously scoring goals. 15 goals from midfield is quite incredible. People will say, yes, well, he scored, half of those have possibly come from the penalty spot, but it doesn't matter. You still need to get up there and take them. He's had a number of assists as well, and along with all the great attributes that he possesses on the pitch, he's an absolute pleasure to work with. He's a really intelligent boy. You can tell he's had a great upbringing. He's just a pleasure to be around on a daily basis, and he trains so well every day of the week as well. He always wants to get better, always trying to improve, and he's a true professional, both in the technical aspect of it and how he lives his life as well.
How about his penalty taking technique? He seems to send the goalkeeper the wrong way every single time.
Yeah, well, we had a chat about it after the Motherwell one, because Liam Kelly kind of double bluffed him, and we had a little conversation, myself and Jamie, on the Monday, just to say maybe that's something worth considering, because obviously goalkeepers do their homework as well, and they'll have their analysts showing them all the penalties that Jamie has taken up to now. But listen, the boy's got ice in his veins. He never seems phased by any situation. He missed the penalty against Motherwell, and the next time round we get a penalty, he's the first one there. He wants the ball and he wants to go and do his thing. So he's done great for us. But we're not surprised in the slightest with the amount of speculation that's out there about Jamie. And I hope come the summer that he'll be included in the Irish camp as well when they meet up as well, because I think his performances this season thoroughly deserves that kind of recognition. And I know Stephen Kenny knows him from his time at Dundalk, but the Jamie McGrath now and the Jamie McGrath then, when Stephen had him at Dundalk, are two completely different players. So I hope he gets that recognition that he deserves.
Maybe some international recognition as well. Might put an extra couple of pounds on his transfer fee if he does leave this summer.
Yeah, I mean, look, people can talk about the selling and that. We're not in a position. We're very fortunate as a club that we're not in a position where we need to sell anybody, and we're trying to build something here. It is the very early stages of a big project that we're working on, and we don't want to be selling our best players year on year. But at the same time, me as a manager, I need to be realistic, and we're always planning on things like that happening. I don't want to hold anybody against their will either, and if a big club comes in that's going to offer Jamie the kind of wages that could be life-changing, then who am I to stand in the player's way? But at the same time, it's got to work for all parties. We have to get a fair sum of money for the player, and be able to replace that type of player with similar quality. But we're not there yet. We're not considering anything at the moment. And Jamie, as I said, is a very grounded young man who will no doubt just be wanting to finish this season on a high, and then what happens in the summer, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Jim, you mentioned that managers have actually had conversations with you about Jamie. Has there been any sort of firm offers or approaches for him?
There's not been any cash put on the table or anything. Nobody's been in touch with Tony Fitzpatrick or anything like that, but I have had at least 3 managers from England and one from Scotland asking about him. So he's caught the headlines, and I genuinely do think if there had been scouts allowed at games, because of COVID, obviously there's been a real lack of scouts allowed into games as well. But I do believe if scouts were able to get in, then I think the interest would be even greater than what it is. So. Listen, Jamie deserves it. He's done absolutely brilliant, and what comes his way will come his way. I've got no doubt about that.
Okay, and talking about the cup semi-final, obviously finishing 7th would be your best finish for 32 years. But would you say that the cup final is an even bigger priority, and would you be tempted to rest players for Saturday's game?
No, we won't be resting anybody. We've got 1 or 2 players with slight niggles, and that we need to make sure are available for the following weekend when we go into the semi-final. But it wouldn't be fair to Ross County or Kilmarnock or to anybody else that's involved in the relegation battle if we all of a sudden rested all of our best players. So it won't be a case of resting anybody. If there are 1 or 2 players there that, if selected for Saturday, run the risk of getting injured, then we won't be taking that risk. It's as simple as that. But I'll be guided by the medical team here, and the conversations that I'll have with the individual players involved. But we'll be fielding a very strong starting 11 against Hamilton. It's as simple as that. Yes, of course, winning the cup would be absolutely amazing, and it's it would be a fantastic achievement for the group. But finishing 7th in the league is extremely important to us as well. Don't want the season, the league season, just to fizzle out and then we end up finishing 9th in the table. I don't want that, especially after the disappointment of missing out on top 6 by a couple of goals. So we want 7th place, and we want to give ourselves the chance of going to win the Scottish Cup. It's as simple as that. We've had a great season up to now. We've done things this season that people tell me, we haven't done for 25, 30, 40 years. I think it's the first time in 40 years that we've got to 2 semi-finals in one season. 1987 was the last time we won the Scottish Cup, and it would be great to be able to do that again this time round. But we know how difficult everything that we're talking about is going to be. Finishing 7th is not going to be easy. Beating St Johnstone in the semi-final is certainly not going to be easy. But we have to believe that we're capable of doing it, and we have to be confident when these big games come around, and go and prove to people that that's where we deserve to be.
And if you got there, it'd be a pity if there were no fans at the cup final. Do you think that the SFA are doing enough to actually get fans to that cup final?
I don't know whether the SFA are doing enough or not. I think it lies with the government, doesn't it, really? They're the ones that will tell us we can or tell us we can't. But I think it would be a real shame for whoever gets there, whether it's ourselves or one of the other 3 teams, 2 of the other 3 teams. Then I think it would be a crying shame to think that 3 or 4 weeks after the final at Hampden, there's going to be 25% of the stadium is going to be full with other fans. So it doesn't really make any sense to me. I don't know how you can justify that one thing is not okay at the end of May, but then it's okay at the end of June. The numbers come the 22nd of May, I would imagine, in terms of the COVID numbers, will be very, very similar to what they'll be when the Euros start up. So I would love the powers that be and the people involved to make that decision and allow us to get 25% of fans into the cup final. And whether we're in it or not, I would still say the exact same thing.
Thanks.
In terms of making it to 2 semi-finals in one season, how much of the desire is there going into next week to make amends for the last trip to Hampden?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, we'd like to, be going into the semi-final off the back of a really good performance and good result against Hamilton first and foremost. But I don't think we gave a good account of ourselves in the semi-final against Livingston in the League Cup. So it wasn't due to a lack of effort or a lack of commitment or anything from the players' part. It was just we started the game very slowly. Obviously conceded a goal early on, a really stupid goal from our point of view, because we know how dangerous Livingston are from set plays. And thereafter, we didn't recover. We struggled to break Livingston down, and St Johnstone are very similar in terms of how dangerous they are from set plays. So we're going to have to make sure we defend those situations a lot better on the day. But like as I said earlier on, I don't think there's a great deal between the two teams. I think when you look at the teams when they come out, the two starting 11s will be very, very similar. I think St Johnstone have got the slight advantage in terms of that they've been there and they've done it before this season. But, we want to go and really give a far better account of ourselves this time round. And like I said, hopefully be on the right end of the result this time.
And this season, you've rightly received plaudits defensively. Was conceding those 3 goals on Monday a bit of a shock to you guys at the right moment, perhaps, to make sure that those lapses don't happen in the crucial coming weeks? Yeah,
absolutely. And, sometimes it's good when those kind of mistakes happen in games and you get away with it. And we did get away with it the other night against Kilmarnock. There's no doubt about it. The first goal is poor marking from the corner. The second goal is just something that we don't do. We don't play offside. And why we think that was a good decision at the time is sometimes just spur of the moment things that, poor decision making. And then the third goal that Kilmarnock got, wasn't the penalty. I think if everybody, anybody that's watched it back will have seen that McAllister clearly touches the ball. In saying that, I don't think ours was a stonewaller either. I think both penalties could have easily not been given. But the manner of the goals we conceded was really disappointing the other night. And it took a lot of the gloss off of some of the good football that we did play. Kilmarnock were very dangerous on the counter-attack. There's no doubt about it. They're quite a direct team in terms of putting balls in behind. And I thought they'd done that quite well. But I thought, we played some very good football in passages. But that was all kind of overlooked because of the manner of the goals that we conceded. We got away with it, like I said, but we can't afford to have another defensive performance like that again against Hamilton on Saturday, and then again obviously at Hampden the following weekend.
Of course, as well, you're only a couple of games away potentially from a spot in European football. How much of an incentive and how much, is that even something you dreamed about at the start of the season?
Look, I always think we're capable of doing what other people think isn't possible. So I did have a slight thought in my mind that this year, looking at all the different teams and the players and the squads available, I thought if we had a fully fit squad available to us all season, that we would give those teams in the top half a run for their money. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out. But the fact that we've got a couple of games to go that could give us the possibility of getting to Europe would be incredible. And that would be amazing for us to have European football here at St Mirren. I don't suppose many people would have considered that, and financially as well, when you look at the reward that's there for getting to those Europa qualification games, you're talking millions, not just hundreds of thousands, but actually millions. So there's all kinds of incentives there for everybody involved, and hopefully we can give ourselves the opportunity to get there, and we're not feeling the same disappointment we were feeling last time round against Livingston.
Jim, I think if you do win the Scottish Cup, then if you're not in the playoffs for the Europa League and don't get through that, it's the Europa Conference group stages, which would obviously bring about 6 games. I mean, 6th place in the Premier League, Liverpool just now, and you'd potentially play name and stuff. Can you begin to dream about managing Anfield next season and things like that?
Oh well, that would be a dream come true. Absolutely. I mean, Liverpool are my English team and always have been. But look, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. I mean, I've given you guys plenty of lines over the course of the season and talked too much about certain things along the way, and I've been shot down in flames talking about top 6 when we don't get there. So, I need to probably take a leaf out of Callum Davidson's book and just play things down a little bit more. But I can't help it. I'm very confident in the group that we've got, and I do believe we're capable of doing something special. Of course, you need a lot of things to fall into place on the day for that to happen, but I'd much rather have that kind of mindset as opposed to a negative one. So, look, we'll try and get through this league game first, then we'll try and focus on St Johnstone the following Sunday, and if we get to the final, we don't care who we meet then after that, whether it's Hibs or United. We'll go into it in a very positive mindset, believing that we're capable of winning it. And it's as simple as that. And as long as I'm manager, that will always be the message to the players.
Hi, Jim. Jim, can I ask you a question away from St Mirren? Going to find out later this afternoon if the Pyramid playoff is going to take place between the winners of the Highland and Lowland against the bottom team in League 2. What's your take?
Listen, it's a tricky one, Rahman. I think there's been league titles handed out for teams that have played 3 games and things like that. I think that's a bit bizarre, but at the same time, running the risk of contradicting myself, I think the teams that we're talking about in the Highland and Lowland League suffered major disappointment last year, not being able to do it. So, the difference for me this time round, Rahman, is that these things were all discussed before the ball was kicked, and people were told that the playoffs would happen and that the leagues would be shortened. And as far as I'm aware, everybody pretty much signed up to that. Now, I know Brecon are obviously fighting against that, and of course they've got every right to do so, because if they were to go into a playoff, then Kelty or Brora would probably be favourites in the game, to be honest with you. So it's a really, really hard one to decide on, and I don't envy the people that need to make that decision. Personally, for me, I think there should be a playoff. I think that's why the pyramid system was put in place. Cove Rangers have came up through that kind of scenario and done very, very well. There's a lot of well-financed teams in the Lowland and the Highland leagues as well, and I think that they would ultimately add value to the lower leagues in Scotland. So in one word, Rahman, I think we should have the playoff. I think it should happen.
Cheers, Jim.